Hey, check 1, 2. All right. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this live, then I hope you enjoyed your break. We had a weekend break for those of you that are not watching live. So hopefully your body feels rejuvenated, recuperated from any of that strength and flexibility that we've been working on up until that point. So we really culminated the first half of this training in full Vashisthasana, side plank with the leg up to the sky, in case you missed the last class and you're tuning in now. Real quick note before we begin this practice today, we're going to be going towards a new posture, a different pose that I've got in mind for you. I want to keep it a little surprise, so I won't reveal it just yet. And we'll be working on some of the strength and flexibility required for that over the next few practices. And a quick update that if you're watching this live, that there's a 200-hour online teacher training that begins in February 1st, and the 300-hour, for those of you that are already 200 hours certified, you're already certified to teach yoga. If you want to take your teaching to the next master level, there's a 300-hour training, and then your 200-hour plus this 300-hour makes you 500 hours certified, so you get to that level within Yoga Alliance. That's recognized, by the way. And the 200-hour training, also Yoga Alliance recognized, will help you deepen your yoga practice in a big way, and also help you to understand how to formulate sequences in order to develop a practice for yourself and also for others, and develop the confidence to share it with others. So the 200-hour starts February 1st. The 300-hour starts February 14th. Happy to talk and have a call with any of you that are interested in that. Just send me a direct email, theyogimat@gmail.com, and we will discuss. If for whatever reason you don't get an email back from me, send me one to Instagram. Just means that either the email didn't come through or the email address was wrong. You could also reply to the emails that I send you. That should come straight to me as well. All right, so to get started today, we're going to be working on some thigh stretches, get some flexibility across the front of the abdomen, the hip flexors, and the quads. Okay, these are areas of the body that so many people have tension and tightness. The abdominals, the deep hip flexors, and the quadriceps. These are all muscles that are used in the fight or flight reflex. So if you think about it, they're the protective muscles, the muscles that would protect your vital organs. They're also the muscles that contract when you start running, when you kick, when you fight. Okay, these are all the muscles of the front body that are involved in that fight or flight response that so many of us have. Not so much physically anymore. Thankfully, most of us live in a physically safe society for the most part. We've got housing now, we've got cars with seat belts. We have a lot of physical safety around us. We wear helmets for things. Whereas, we think about humans as when we were more animalistic, primal, that we had a lot that had to be protected. And so this fight or flight reflex happened quite often for us to stay safe, stay alive. Now it's transpired into an emotional response, not a physical safety response, but rather the survival of our ego. When the ego gets tested, pointed, poked at, then the same chemicals, the same hormones get released into our system. The same behavioral fight or freeze becomes our state of mind. Okay, so we start behaving in that way. We start acting in that way, that we are trying to survive, we're trying to fight, we're trying to run away, whatever it is that our behavioral, what would happen physically is now transpiring emotionally and mentally for many of us. No, let's be honest, all of us human beings. And that said, the muscular system still holds that tension. So it's not just our mind that gets tense when we have a stress response or a fight or flight response, but also our physical body get for a fight or ready to run. And in that case, we've got all these muscles the fight, flight, freeze muscles that tend to tense up and then never even be used in that action. So it'd be one thing if we actually used all of these muscles appropriately, they would get stronger, they would move through range of motion, but we don't. It becomes a entirely mental experience. We completely leave our physical body more often than not. In these responses, these stress responses, or these fight, flight, freeze responses, we tend to forget that we even have a physical body, right? We're not thinking about our body. And so our body reacts. It has muscle tension that's held and then never gets properly released because we never address it. So what we'll be doing today is really addressing releasing those muscles, the quadriceps, the hip flexors, and the abdominals. We might be doing some strengthening of those muscles first so that we can activate them, like squeeze and release. That activation that is so important. Like all these muscles all muscles in the body need to be engaged in order to release. So relaxing is great, but it's like anything else. If you want something to expand, it needs to contract first. So the name of this immersion again is the pulse, spanda. Spanda means that all things, in order to expand, must contract. In order to contract, they must expand. There's this constant dance between the two, contraction and expansion, these two polar opposites that are required in, or let's just say this, that are the attributes of all of nature, of the universe itself, right? So all of consciousness, everything that is, all the isness in the world has this, it's not like a law that we've written as humans. It's just something that as humans we've observed that nature is constantly doing. It's constantly expanding and it's constantly contracting. And so if we acknowledge that our muscles to contract and then relax contraction, or to shorten and then to lengthen, then we can use that to our advantage to release the tension. So let's get going. Start on all fours, hands and knees. Find your wrists. You can move a little bit side to side to awaken the synovial fluid. You could also move front to back a little bit and do circles to get the wrist joints awake. Again, both directions. And then you can flip the hands one at a time, stretching the backs of the wrist. And when I do that, I also turn the elbow to point straight back. That stretches the backs of the wrist here, the extensors of the wrist. Walk further out in front. Grip your fingers into the ground. Arch the back. Look up. Exhale, down dog. Take a breath in. And out. One more breath in. And out. Forward to plank pose on the inhale. Lower the knees down, chaturanga all the way down. Let's first just warm up the back muscles, lift the heart, inhale. Exhale, release. Again, inhale, lift the heart. Exhale. One more time, inhale, lift the heart. Exhale. All fours, hands and knees. Tuck your toes and come to downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky on the in-breath. Step right foot forward and come up onto your fingertips. We take a breath in together and exhale it out. So we want to start to awaken the muscles that we want to stretch, which are the quads and the hip flexors back here. So to do so, you press the straighten the back knee. That's going to be your quadriceps that activate. And then with your leg straight, press the ball mound of the back foot down and drag the foot forward until you feel the hip crease, muscles along the inner thigh and the front of the hip start to activate. Okay, so
The knee is straight. That's your quads. The ball mound of the foot is pressing down and dragging towards your front foot in order to activate your hip flexors. Now, when you do that, your hips should lift, hopefully. Keep that lift, but bend your front knee, but keep pressing the ball mound of the back foot down and pulling it forward. So there's a little bit of a tug of war happening. Now, use your abdominals to pull your front rib cage in. You could also use your buttocks to scoop the tail of the front hip. Okay? Then get lighter in your fingertips. Lengthen through the top of the head. Take a full breath in. And out. Ball mound of the back foot presses down and pulls forward. One more breath in. Exhale to downward facing dog. Forward to plank. Inhale. Knees down, chaturanga. Inhale, lift the heart. This time you're going to lift your right leg up as well. Exhale, release. Lift the heart, left leg. Inhale. Straight leg, back leg straight. Exhale. Lift the heart, both legs up. Straight legs. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. All right, let's take the left leg to the sky. Step forward. High up on the fingertips, we take a breath. Firm up the back quadriceps. So back knee is straight. And it's easy to firm the front quads. They have to be active. The back quads tend to relax a little bit. We tend to be a little bit lackadaisical. You have to bring consciousness, awareness to the back quads in order to engage them. They're not just going to engage by themselves. Okay, there's certainly a little bit of engagement, but that's something that you have to become aware of. So that builds your body awareness to firm the back quads. Now, press the ball mound of the back foot down and pull it forward. And you shouldn't feel like you're sinking as a result, but rather that you're rising as a result of pressing the ball mound of the back foot down and pulling it forward. That's how you know you're using the right appropriate muscles that I'm asking you to. Okay, now, continuing that, round your upper back. You'll have to kind of move your left sit bone in and underneath in order to get lighter in your fingers. With your upper back rounded, you're using a gentle toning of the abdominal muscles, just a little bit there, and then lengthen through the top of the head. Fingers are light. Let's take a full breath in. Full breath out. One more. Full breath in. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Come forward to plank. Inhale. Exhale, chaturanga. Slide the hands and feet wide. Inhale, lift the front of the chest. Soften the heart forward. Pull the low back, the heart, everything to the front of the yoga mat. Then stretch the abdomen upward to the sky. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Let's enjoy a full breath in together. Full breath out. The breath is a fantastic reminder of the fact that everything in nature is pulsing. Everything in nature goes from an expanded state to a contracted state and back again. Everything inside of us, the heart, the breath, is doing this constantly. Our muscular system constantly doing this. We emulate that in the things that we can control. In this case, our actions in our body. We contract and we expand. Walk the feet to the front of the mat. Halfway lift. And exhale, bow. Now, most of us really love to embrace expanded states where we love flexibility. That's why, we use it as a buzzword so often, right? You probably saw flexibility as one of the things, stretching as one of the things in this immersion might have gotten you to sign up. We're attracted to flexibility. We're attracted to the expanded state of things. We feel that an expansion, for whatever reason, is the best place to be. It feels to us as joyous, easy, celebratory, and that's what expansion really is. So we're easy to embrace it. We're quick to embrace the expanded states. The question is, though, since the rest of life, 50% of life at least, is in a contracted state, it's not just in those expanded states for which we can enjoy our experience of being alive, but it's also in the contracted states. And learning to embrace and enjoy the contracted states of our life really takes some effort. Okay, it's not like a quick satisfying thing to be contracted, but rather to learn that the contraction exists for the expansion. It must be first intellectualized by the buddhi, the part of our mind that is the intellect. Once we can intellectualize it, then we can start to see it all around us. That the exhale, imagine if you just thought every exhale was a problem, that every contraction of your lungs was an issue. But we know intellectually that the exhale makes way for the inhale. And so we want to kind of embody that in our life, learn how to embody the enjoyment of the exhalation, the contractions, so that it's not just the inhalation that we're celebrating, that we're enjoying, but we recognize that the contracted moments of our life are actually leading to something more magnificent. Hands to the hips, arch the back, and rise up. Something that we all struggle with, and it's certainly, that's why I've chosen it as a something to focus on this month, throughout the whole month, this idea of spanda, because that contracted state is something that we all struggle with the embrace of, and it's hard, and it presents challenges, and it's perhaps the whole reason why yoga exists in the first place, to help us with our mindset, to help us cultivate an appreciation for the totality of life that we are living. Inhale, reach the arms to the sun. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Halfway lift on the inhale. Step the left foot back, exhale. Press down, rise, hands to the front knee. Okay, front knee more or less towards over the heel, and then press straight down into your heel from there. Okay, now spin the back thigh in a little bit and press the inner back thigh up to the sky. That's going to be your quads that do that. Now, it's probably not so hard here, okay? So activating the quads in this position is fairly easy, but as we start to come more upright in high lunge, the back quads tend to fall asleep. We tend to forget about them, stop focusing on them. So press your front heel down, firm your back quads. Now start to lift up. Now, for most of us, when we lift up, we start to jam the low back. I'd like you to stretch the abdomen upward so that your low back has space and freedom. So lift the sides of the ribs. Now, when you do that, when you lift your abdomen upward, it stretches a muscle called the psoas major, all the way down, that attaches to your inner thigh. It's a hip flexor, okay? Now, when that stretches, it starts to pull a little bit on the back knee and bends the back knee. So what I'd like you to do is straighten the back knee and lift the abdomen against the quadriceps. The quadriceps stay active, the abdomen stays lifted. Now take the arms up to the sky. Keep the back quads firmed up, so back inner knee straight. Abdomen lifts up, nice and tall. Take the heart up, look up. Take a full breath in. Exhale, hands to the ground. Inhale to plank pose. Exhale, lower down, Chaturanga, all the way to the earth. Slide hands and feet wide. Inhale, lift the front of the body up. Exhale, soften the heart forward. The goal here is to stretch the belly long. So press the heart forward, pull the abdomen upward towards your throat so you get a nice stretch of the abdomen. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Inhale. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Full breath in. Full breath out. Inhalation. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Lift the heels up on the inhale, look forward. Exhale, hop or step lightly to the front of the mat. Half lift when you get there. Inhale. Exhale and bow. To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale to the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, right foot back. Okay, hands to the front knee. Come up and pause. Front knee over heel. Tailbone wags straight back. Press through the front heel so your front buttocks is active. Now, keeping that, let's work on the back quads. Press your inner back knee to the sky. That'll help the back thigh stay rotated neutrally, meaning it's not turned out, the hip's not open, but spinning the back thigh in is just going to get the thigh to face straight down or forward. So it's a neutral thigh. Now, again, activating the quads in the back leg here is fairly easy, but as we come up and start to stretch the psoas, then the back quads will start to give way. So we're going to try to be attentive to that, awake to that. So come on up. Now, typically, if you stay active in the back quads while you're here, the low back will tend to kind of get a little jammy. So what you're going to do is stretch the abdomen up, especially the right abdomen, the side where the back leg is straight. Lift it up, okay? Now, once you do that, the back knee will tend to give in a little bit. So firm your back leg, lift your abdomen up. I'm lengthening my stance a little here so I can get a deeper stretch in the hip flexors and the abdomen. Okay, so firm the back leg, lift the abdomen up, and turn your heart slightly to the left. Now take the arms up to the sky. Heart slightly to the left, back inner thigh active. Full breath in, full breath out. Lift the sides of your ribs up, your shoulders up. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale, look up. Back thigh. Exhale, release. Plank. Inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, feet a little bit wider. Inhale, lift the front of the chest. Exhale, elbows and shoulders back. Heart softens forward. Now pull your chest forward. Stretch the belly up to the sky. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Full breath in. Full breath out. Full breath in. And out. One more, inhale. Lift the heels up on the inhale, look forward. Walk, step, or hop to the front. Halfway lift on the in-breath. Exhale and bow. To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana. To the heart, Samastati. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step or hop, Chaturanga. Slide the hands and feet wide. Inhale, lift. Soften. Stretch the chest forward, then belly up. Exhale, release. All fours. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Right leg to the sky, inhale. 3 times, knee to chest, round the upper back, and pull your knee to try to touch your chest to strengthen the hip flexors. Okay, inhale, backing up. Of course, your abdominals as well. Knee to chest as you exhale. Come towards plank. Pull your knee. Try to touch your chest. One more time. Inhale. Again, knee to chest. Rounding the upper back as much as you can, but pulling your knee tight to your chest. Inhale, back and up. Step forward. Okay, inhale, rise, high lunge, back inner thigh lifted. Exhale, open Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Press your feet down and drag inward all the way up through the abdomen, up through the top of the head. Arms out to the sides. Feel the sensation of contracting and expanding in your breath. As you inhale, there's an expansion. As you exhale, the body contracts inward, the breath releases. Inhale. All right, reverse warrior, inhale. Hold here as you exhale. One more. Sorry, one more. Inhale here. Release. Hands to the ground. Back knee comes down. Fingertips on either side of the front foot. Let's get connected to our hip flexors of the back leg. So pull your back knee towards the front knee until you feel your hips, your groins lift up away from the ground, and the front of your thigh and your inner thigh activate. Now take your hands to your front knee. Okay, let's actually point the back foot. And with your back foot pointed, I'd like you to shimmy your front foot a little bit closer to you so your knee is a little past your heel. Okay, so you're not sinking all the way down. You're actually pulling your back knee towards your front knee so you feel this little lift of your hips up. Keeping the lift, specifically of the inner groin here, right by where the thigh meets the pelvis. Keeping that lift, now press the top of the back foot down until you feel your quads active and your back knee straightens, okay? There should be a lot of activity in your back quads. Slowly, slowly, slowly place the back knee to the ground. That should be pretty intense for you. If your foot cramped up, it's probably sickling in, something like this. Can you point it straight back behind you? Now let's try it 2 more times. Pull your knees toward each other, hips lifted. Keep your weight forward into your hands here, okay? And now press the top of the back foot down. If your weight's too far back, it'll be impossible. Back quads active. Okay, very slowly, you let the back knee come back down, very slowly. Okay, let's take a full breath in, full breath out. Let's do it again, one more time. Pull your 2 knees toward each other if you already let that go. Try to keep it, of course. Then press the top of the back foot down, firm the back quads, really activate them, kick into the ground. It's the same thing you would do in like a posture like dancer pose. You would kick the back foot, except it would be your hand that you'd be kicking it into, okay? Release the hands to the ground. Step to downward facing dog. And I'd like you, instead of coming forward, just observe the left and right hip. Take a full breath in, the full circumference of it. The back, the inner, the outer, the front. Full breath in. Left leg to the sky on the inhale. 3 times, knee to chest. Firming up the same hip flexors you were just activating. Knee to chest, round the back. Try to touch your chest. Inhale, backing up. Exhale, knee to chest, round your back. Still try to touch your chest, knee to chest while rounding. Inhale, backing up. Last time, exhale. Inhale, backing up. Step forward. Inhale, rise, high lunge. Back inner thigh active. Exhale, open up, Virabhadrasana 2. Hips back just a little. Press your feet down, pull them toward each other until the inner thighs are active. and take the arms out to the sides. Full breath in and out. A few more breaths. Stay lifted and light in the midsection. Reverse warrior. Inhale. We're going to hold here. Press your left rib cage up to the sky. Exhale, hands to the ground. Back knee spins down. I usually heel toe my left foot a little to the left. And let's get set up. This time you can shorten your stance right away. Make it a little bit easier for you to have the knee past the ankle. This is going to help you keep the weight forward. If the weight's too far back, it's going to be impossible in your back leg. Okay, so point your back foot. And if you look, it's very hard to see back there, but if you look back, the inner foot tends to sickle inward, like pointing the toes towards the midline of the mat and your body. Instead, you want to have the big toe face straight back behind you, pointing straight back just like your shin, okay? Straight to the back. All right, so now let's get the hip flexors active. Pull your knees toward one another until your inner thigh of your back, right here where the groin is, the back inner thigh lifts to the sky. Okay, that's your femur head, your thigh bone moving deeper into the hip socket. That's a good thing. We want to keep the head of the femur back. Okay, keeping the head of the femur back like that. Now let's come up, hands to the front knee. Keep your knee forward, belly lifted, and keep your weight in your hands. Keep the back inner thigh, head of the femur bone lifted, and now start to activate the quads by pressing the top of the back foot down, kicking your foot into the ground. Your quads will activate and your knee will lift. Okay, very slowly, and that's the key. Slowly place the knee back down. That's how you know you have control. If you're plopping back onto the ground, then you're losing control of that muscle activation. Okay, again, here we go. Press the top of the back foot down. Think about pressing the pinky toe side of the foot down so your quads activate. Slow. Just one more. Keep the back inner thigh lifted. Press the top of the back foot down. Release slowly. Well done. Okay, hands to the ground. Down dog. Pause and take a moment. Feel your right and your left hip. And place the knees to the ground. Cross the ankles. Legs out in front. Let's get the hip flexors awake. Okay, so you'll take your hands by your sides, however you want to do it. Fingertips, knuckles, fists, whatever works. Palms.
I didn't find Sorry, I'll Take Your Hands by Sia Fingertips on Apple Music.
That's hilarious. I don't know if you could hear that from your, but saying sorry is not the same as Siri. Apparently, Siri thinks she's sorry. Let me turn that off. Okay, well, you got a nice little break. Now let's get active in the legs. So you'll take your butt back. This makes it harder. Easier to lean back further, okay? Harder to lean your chest forward. So let's take the left leg up as high as you can. Try not to lean back too much. Stay lifted. And then reach your left hand past your toes. And then release. Okay? Again, it's easier to go back, harder to go forward. Now take your right leg up. Keeping it up, take your right hand past your toes. I obviously understand that many of you cannot do that. Okay, it's just directionally want you to be working toward reaching past your toes and directionally keeping your chest lifted. Many of you, it's going to make more sense to be back here, okay, so that you can still do the exercise. And that's totally great. I want you to be working where you are at, not working where I'm at, okay? This is where I'm at in my practice after many years of doing things like this. Where you are at is where you're ready to start building strength and moving toward this. I hope that's very clear. It's not about doing the exercise the way that I'm doing it, but in the trajectory that you are seeing me do this, that's where your trajectory is going to go as a human being. Okay, so you want to be moving towards your potential, even though it might be very challenging for you. Okay, a lot of us humans have this obsession with being perfect and already having things together instead of being obsessed with the journey of moving towards something. This is what the pulse teaches, that in the contracted state, when things haven't been realized yet, how do we behave? How do we think? How do we feel? Are we all consumed with the fact that we're not expanded yet? Or can we appreciate the contracted state of not being there yet and moving in that direction? So move the chest forward if you can. Keep the pelvis upright. Lift the leg and then reach the left hand past. Maybe you can toe tap the back of your wrist. Okay, then release. Same thing on the right side. Reach the leg up. Take the right hand back. Now, a lot of you, we've done jump forwards in past practices. I don't think it was this immersion, but the previous immersion we did a jump forward. Maybe it was this immersion. I think it was the handstand one though. Okay, other side again. Now, if this exercise is very hard to keep the leg straight and lift the foot and bring your hand past the toes, then doing a jump forward, this is a very good kind of physical test to see if jumping forward with lightness is possible. If you can do this and jumping forward is very hard, then it's a strength issue of the upper body. If you can't jump forward very well and you can't do this, then you know it's because it's more of a flexibility and hip flexor strength issue. So this is going to tell you that, are your hip flexors strong enough against the tightness of your hamstrings? Are you flexible enough to do this exercise? If so, then you have the flexibility to jump to Uttanasana. If not, then you don't have the flexibility yet. So now you kind of understand where you need to work. So if you can do this, but jumping forward is still really hard, to be light. So let's do a few rounds, okay? If you can do this, but jumping forward is still heavy for you, then that means your shoulder strength is not strong enough yet. Also, you're probably not leaning forward enough in your jump forwards, which means your wrist strength is not ready yet. Yet is the key word. Okay, let's keep going. But it is possible to build that appropriate strength. I suggest the December immersion. To go back and grab that one. Also, the handstand strength training and handstand balance trainings are really good for those particular building strength in the forearms and shoulders. Perfect for those. I go over a lot in both of those trainings, specifically the balance though. Okay, let's do, I'm going to try, I fell on my tailbone last week on a pipe, very hard to explain. So I'm going to try doing this with you. Let's see how it goes. I bruised it, so it's a little bit tough. But come down onto your forearms like so, and extend your left leg, pointing the foot straight forward. Or you could flex, or it doesn't matter what you do with your feet, just activate them, okay? Now, you're going to start to pulse the leg upward, and I'd like you to pay attention. If you can touch your left abdomen, you'll feel some activity underneath. That's going to be your psoas underneath the abdomen. The abdomen is hopefully engaged as well, the outer abdominals. So just pulsing a little bit. Should be fairly easy at first. As you get going, it'll get a little bit more tough to hold on to it. Now here's going to be the fun part. You're going to flex your foot, rotate the leg outward as much as you can, and lift from the back of your heel up to the sky, pulsing the same way. All right, and release. Second side. Stretch your neck if you like. Okay, pulse the right. Use your abdomen to keep your chest upright. Should be fairly easy at first, until you start getting, into the fatigue of it. Keep your abdomen toned. Underneath this, what's creating the lift is your hip flexors, some of which is your psoas, some is your rectus femoris. Make sure your leg is straight, by the way. This is going to be rectus femoris. Also, if you turn the leg in a little bit, that's going to be TFL, tensor fasciae lata, which is one of the outer hips. But if you turn the leg out, let's try that now. Flex the foot, Now you're going to go directly into the pectineus, which is an adductor, as well as it's probably going to target the psoas major more when your leg is turned out. Whereas when you're neutral, you're going to be doing rectus femoris, which is a quadricep, for those of you anatomy nerds that like to know these things. Okay, and then release. All right, come to lay down. Press the back of your head into the ground to strengthen the back of your neck muscles because you just strengthened the front. So as you press the back of your head into the ground, you can feel that your neck hopefully goes into an arched position, not like you're jetting your chin back. Your head is neutral, so your chin is like, if you measured it, it was somewhat perpendicular to the ground, but you're pressing straight back, so the center of your neck lifts up. Even the lower neck area as well starts to lift. So those vertebrae towards the base of the neck. What tends to happen when you start engaging the neck muscles in the back there is that the upper back starts to engage and your chest starts to lift into a back bend as well. So move your midsection down into the ground by using your abdominal muscles. So front ribs press down into the earth, but also press the center of your skull back into the ground as well. Okay, and release. Now, let's extend the legs. When you extend the legs straight, your front ribs tend to pop up off the ground. Press your front ribs down via the strength of your rectus abdominals, your front abdominals here. So we draw your front ribs towards your pubic bone and your pubic bone towards your front ribs. And when you do that, what happens is your legs start splaying out to the sides because your tailbone's tucking. That's what happens. So you're going to squeeze the front of your legs in while tucking the tail and lift the legs just 1 centimeter off the ground while your front ribs are pressing down. Now take your arms overhead if possible. So you're in a big handstand kind of position. Scoop your tailbone. Of course, you're on your back. Your mid back is pressing into the earth, tucking the tail, and then release. If that was easy, then you're probably not doing it as I'm asking. Okay, so especially when the arms go up overhead, it challenges the abdominal muscles quite a bit and the psoas to keep everything together. So let's try again. Front ribs here, they press down towards the pubic bone. Pubic bone zips up, so your whole back is kind of pressing into the earth. Tailbone is tucked. Now your legs will tend to splay out to the sides when you do that. It's normal, but you're going to use the opposing muscle groups to turn the legs in and squeeze the legs together. Scoop your tail and lift your legs 1 centimeter or so off the ground. Most of us go way too high, even I do. Now take your arms overhead. Keep your tailbone tucked. Front ribs pressing down towards the pubic bone tucking or pulling up towards the navel. Then keep your legs low. If your legs go up high, it becomes easier and easier. So keep your legs low. Okay, then release. Hallelujah. Yeah, so the higher your legs up, the easier this is. The lower they are, the harder it is. All right. We only have one more, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Let's do it together. Reach the arms overhead, scoop the tailbone, and press. When you scoop the tailbone, your legs will either turn out or the knees will bend. Something will happen. If nothing happens and you probably didn't, really actually tuck the tail, you probably thought about doing it. Some muscles engaged, but the pelvis didn't move. I'd like you to pull your pubic bone actually up towards your navel until you feel something happens in your legs. Either your knees will bend, the legs will splay out, they'll turn out. Okay. Now, without losing that tuck of the tailbone, bring your front of your legs together, squeeze the ankle bones together, lift the legs 1 centimeter. Now, keep the front ribs down, take the arms overhead if you haven't already, low back on the ground, middle back on the ground, feet 1 inch off the ground, straight quadriceps, all the way active, and then release. Okay, that should be a nice toning of the belly for you. Cross the ankles and come up to a seated position. Aha. Okay, so now our front body is warmed up. Let's get some, do I want any more front body? Yeah, you know what, come to, no, we're good. We're gonna stretch. So let's take the right leg forward, left knee back. Like we did earlier, bring the hands onto the front knee.
Before we do a stretch where we would introduce force, we're going to do a stretch where we introduce activation of the opposing muscles. So that means we're going to activate our hamstrings in order to stretch the quads. Most of us have very weak hamstrings and very tight quads. So what will happen is you'll probably cramp up in the hamstrings. A cramp means your muscles are trying to activate but don't have the strength yet. So if you cramp up, then you do the exercise we did earlier, which is this. That will release the cramp of your hamstrings, okay? So flex your foot. This is important to flex the foot for this. Lean forward and now try to pull your heel to your bum. That activates the hamstrings, okay? Now this is option one, you'll release. You can do several of those. If you're cramping up here, then you're definitely not gonna go the next step. So you would just continue like this. The next step will be hands on the front thigh, lift the belly up and pull the front ribs back like you just did, and then to do the actions again. Now this will be a deeper stretch and require, as long as you're not like dumping in your pelvis, you keep your pelvis upright, then it's going to require more hamstring strength against the tightness of your quads. The next thing would be take your arms up to the sky with your front ribs down like in the exercise previously, and you do these little exercises, okay? Now, again, keeping your hands on your knees is going to be more accessible, and if you can only lift the leg, just a little bit off the ground, just do that. You don't need to cramp every single time. Just do a little bit to strengthen the hamstrings against the tension of the quads. Okay, it's the great thing about tension is you can use it to your advantage to develop strength. Okay, let's do a few more. Too many yogis don't take care of their hamstrings. They just stretch them, which is not taking care of them. We want to stretch and strengthen every muscle. Okay, and release. We switch sides. And what this does is something called reciprocal inhibition. If we activate the hamstrings enough, the quads will start to release their tension. That's how the body works. One side activates, the other side will release, and that's how we can move. Otherwise, if we activated our hamstrings and then our hip flexors and quads contracted at the same time, no movement could occur, right? If they had the same equal force. So the body has this ability to release opposing muscle groups in order for movement to be allowed to happen. So we use that to our advantage, just like we use facilitated stretching to our advantage. We also use reciprocal inhibition. So hips up a little bit. Again, you have three options. You could have hands on the ground, hands to thigh, hands to sky, and we're going to pulse. That was about 25, 30 of them on the other side. So you just, we'll go and get the hamstrings active and fatigued against the tightness of the quads. Keep your weight forward. Front ribs down if you can. Okay, and release. Well done. Switch. Right foot outside of right hand. Left hand to the left. Lift your back knee up for a moment. Place it back down. And we take our first thigh stretch. So you see how the initiation of this thigh stretch, you use that activation of your hamstrings. So important for so many poses, especially the one that we're moving towards, is the ability to bend your knee using your hamstrings in order to grab the foot, right? Otherwise, you can't get your foot, no matter how flexible you are, if you don't have the strength of your hamstrings. A lot of times this just initial action of using the hamstrings, many people lack the strength of their hamstrings in order to grab the foot. Okay, so it's a great little drill that we just did before to strengthen those. Open your chest, stretch the quads, pull the foot in. Now you can do the opposite of facilitated stretching. You can do opposite of reciprocal inhibition, we can do facilitated stretching. So that is activating the muscles that are lengthening. Pull your knees toward each other, lift your hips, You'll feel a release of some tension there. And once the hips lift, your hand can bring your foot closer. Then gently, apply a little pressure of your foot back into your hand, like flick your toes, press your foot into your hand, and you should feel a heating sensation in the hip flexors and in the quads, less of a stretch sensation, more of a heating, more of a warmth that takes over as you start to activate the muscles. That will start to allow you to draw your chest away from your belly, away from your hips, and eventually bring your foot in closer. That heat you're feeling is your muscles activating. That's what a facilitated stretch is. While a muscle is lengthened, we activate it. It's the exact opposite of reciprocal inhibition. Okay, and then release. I'm going to switch sides. Okay, lift your back knee up. You can move it back a little bit. So all the while, I'm not actually sinking my hips down. I'm using the strength of my back hip flexors to keep my body upwards. So that's part of the facilitated stretch. I pull my knees toward each other. The hips stay lifted the whole time. They never sag down. Then I use, it doesn't mean I don't take a long, like I'm not up here, right? Doing this. It doesn't mean take a shorter stance. It means take the long stance, but resist it by activating your muscles against it. That's facilitated stretching. It's allowing the muscles to lengthen, but strengthen them within that length. Okay, bend the back knee. You can use your hamstrings to do so, right? You can do a few pulses here, why not? And then once you do so, then you can grab the foot or the strap. If it is hard to grab the foot, definitely recommend strap. And it's time to strengthen the hamstring so that you can grab the foot. It's not just the flexibility of the quads and the hip flexors that have to happen. It's also the strength. Now, once you have the foot, you can point the foot and gently, again, still knees toward each other so your hips are lifted. Gently press your foot back into your hand until you feel a heating, a warming. Maybe your muscles start to shake because they're trying to engage while lengthened. That's normal. And then at that point, it might feel better to be able to bring the foot in a little bit closer. Okay, and release this side. Step to all fours, hands and knees. Take a moment. Find an anterior tilt, so stick your bum to the sky. That'll shorten the hip flexors, give you a moment to relax. At least some of the hip flexors relax. Because now your hips are flexed, so they're more in a relaxed state, shortened state. So that contraction, after a big lengthening, the contraction is necessary to recoup. It happens in social situations, right? If you are spending a lot of time outwardly talking and socializing, you have to draw back into yourself to recoup your energy, to sleep, to rest, to be quiet, to be still. All right. Now we're going to take Anjaneyasana with a thigh stretch, a challenging pose, and it's sometimes called King Pigeon preparation, King Pigeon 2 preparation. So you'll take your right foot forward, hands on the front thigh, move your hips forward. You want to take the weight off of your back knee, so hips forward, but at the same time, your back knee pulls towards your front knee, so your hips are lifted. Play around. If you have any knee pain here, you can move your foot a little bit one way or another. Sometimes that helps, but also the fascia tends to get caught underneath the knee. So if you lift your back knee up and then you move it back a little, then drag it forward, tends to be helpful. And then use your hamstrings to bend the knee. And you go same hand, same foot, or strap for that matter. This is option 1, or let's say phase 1. Then the next step would be take your hand to your knee and come upright.
We'll call this phase 2. The next step is now to flip your grip. So that means walk your hand over. So you see how I turn my bicep outward, just like we're doing side plank. You roll the arm bone outward externally, and your thumb will now face up. Okay, if you get that, you can bring the foot in just to the outside of the buttocks here. It tends to be that my pelvis personally slides out to the right. So I try to slide my hips back to center, which is toward me towards the left. And then you have this belly lift. We'll call this phase 3. And you can either in phase 3 keep your hand where it is, this one, the front hand, or you take your right hand to the sky. Now, if you want to take a back bend in this, you have to softly move your weight forward to the front, move your ribs forward. And if just by moving your low back and ribs forward, your heart can then lift up and your arm will go back as a result. You'll be in a back bend, okay? It's going to be a deep stretch. Again, slide the pelvis to the left if it starts sneaking over to the right. Okay, hand first to the knee, if it's not. Hips back to release the stretch. Release the foot. All right, King Pigeon Prep 2. Switch sides. Again, lift the back knee, replace it down so the skin doesn't get caught in any direction, then pull your knees toward each other. You have option 1, you reach back, grab your strap. You got to use your hamstrings for this to grab your foot. Okay, so doing those hamstring exercises we did earlier are great to be able to grab the foot. And those of you that struggle with that. Option 2, hand comes to the thigh, chest lifts and turn a little bit to the left. Stretch the belly to the sky. Staying here, or if you're ready for it, your body's ready for it, that is, your palm rotates, flipping the grip and bringing the foot towards the hip, a little bit more to the outside, just a bit. Never letting go of the knees pulling toward each other. It's only a little bit of effort, but it is effort indeed, okay? Option to lift the belly, turn the chest to the left so you don't let the psoas kind of rule the pose. You lengthen it. Then take your hand to the sky as an option. If you want to take a back bend, you send your low back and low ribs forward. Naturally, that'll start to, if just doing that, the hand will move back. You see, I'm not trying to move my hand back. I'm not doing this, right? I'm actually moving my low ribs, low back, and hips forward. As a result, the upper body will just balance itself out by going back. But if you try to go back, you'll feel compression in your low back. But if you try to go forward, it'll be natural to form the back bend. Okay, and release. Lovely indeed. All right, so let's take what's called Virasana as our closing posture. You place a block under your bum and your feet are a little wider than your knees, a little bit wider than hip width apart, and you sit on the block. Some of you will have no problem to sit on the ground. It doesn't bother my knees at all, but I know for a lot of you, that's not going to be good for your knees to sit all the way down. It just depends on the construct of your knees and the health of the meniscus and everything in there, whether this is good, of course, the flexibility of your quads. But if you feel pain in the knee, that's not something to push through. Just sit yourself up on as many blocks as you need, and until you don't feel anything in the knee at all. We don't want to feel it in the knee. What we want to do is take this position that will allow us to internally rotate the thighs, and this will put our hip flexors in a relaxed state. I'm going to stay here to both cool down, physically speaking, and take a moment to move into a little pranayama meditation. So sit on 1 to 2 blocks, or if you don't have blocks, you can roll over some blankets, a bolster will do. And allow the thigh bones to be in this internally inflexed position. This will bring the hip flexors back into a relaxed state of being. Okay, this is the necessary contraction, maybe not effortful contraction, but more of a relaxed contraction where the muscles are shortened. The muscles that we've been stretching are shortened. Once you have your seated position up on blocks or blankets or a bolster, let the breath be soft, but it's still a little whisper, a little ujjayi, which is that gentle constriction of the throat muscles in order to create a little whisper. What you'll probably feel in your hips is a warmth towards towards the front and the insides of your thighs where they meet the pelvis. Enjoy the warmth of these muscles and the blood flow you have brought to this area of your hip joints and the muscles that surround them. We'll do a gentle pranayama. All we'll do is we'll inhale for 4 breaths, exhale for 6. Sorry, what I mean by 4 breaths was 4 counts. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6 counts. And in between the inhales and in between the exhales, allow there to be a lingering where no inhalation, no exhalation happens, just simply being in the fullness and in the emptiness. This pulse of inhale and exhale also has a spaciousness, a nothingness between it all. And in that space between the movement is a certain stillness that the mind rests comfortably in, suspends time and space. It's dreamlike and at the same time completely present. This is what the yogis call samadhi, this state of oneness where all things merge. So again, the pranayama is to inhale for a count of 4 and to exhale for a count of 6. I'll kick us off, but ultimately it's going to be self-led so you can get your own timing. So exhale your breath all the way out. For the count of 4, we inhale together. And then at the top, linger. Let there be space, nothingness. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Linger in the stillness. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Linger in the stillness of it all. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and linger. Now on your own pace, same way, 4 for the inhale. Linger in the space and time of nothingness. 6 on the way out. Let your breath be as it is. Feel the vibrational energy that is constantly pulsing, allowing you to be alive. If you'd like, you can make your way now into Shavasana, letting the body rest on the back. Or if you prefer, you can stay seated, closing out your practice in meditation if you'd like. It's up to you. Whichever serves you. If you're in Shavasana or meditation, either way, come back to your breath. Awaken fingers and toes. Stretch the arms. Roll over and come up to a seated position. If you're in meditation, take a moment to awaken the fingers and toes and rub the palms together. Let's all place the hands over the eyes and take a breath in. Rub the palms together. Let's all place the warmth of our hands over our heart. One more time. Hands over the belly. Breathe into them. Hands to the heart. And take a moment to acknowledge the pulse that is within us. With every contraction of the heart, there's an expansion that follows. With every expansion of our breath, which is the inhale, there's an exhale that follows. Neither is better than the other. So it's about cultivating a mindset that appreciates the fullness of what life has to offer us, the fullness, the full spectrum of experiences that we have, as hard as that might be. And this is a practice, and we're not here to make it perfect or to be masters at it, but to get better at enjoying this experience of life itself, which is constantly in flux between these contracted states and expanded states. So we do the best we can with the time we have to enjoy it, the fullness of it. Namaste. All right, thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure to share this practice with you today. The February immersion is going to be announced and available for sign-up soon. I look forward to sharing that with you. Again, if you have any requests, please throw them up in the Facebook group, and I'm happy to see if I can accommodate you for the February immersion. Not everybody, of course, will be accommodated, but if we get the requests in, then I'll know better for next immersion, or maybe the ones after that. I can take inspiration from that. Okay, so if you're interested in that, that'll be available soon. Or if you'd like to talk about the 200 or 300 hour online teacher trainings, yes, they're Yoga Alliance certified. They are go at your own pace, so you don't have to show up at a certain time every weekend or whatever. It's go at your own pace, so it's convenient for those of you that have full-time jobs, kids, or whatever. You can just jump in as it's convenient to you, as you have time, and you can work through it at your own pace. So let's discuss. Send me an email and let's find a time to chat, and we'll jump on a call and see if it's the right training for you. I'm not really interested in pushing you into it if I don't think it's appropriate. It's not a sales pitch. It's just let's chat and see if it's the right thing. Okay, see you soon.